there's enough of you Sawyers on that you might appreciate this. But John is John Davis. Hey, John. Everybody say hi to John. He's got a channel, Davidson's All Natural Gym, which cracks me up every time I think about it because he did a intro a while back, and I want to say it was like all these young kids today, they got to go to the gym and get their Pilates or whatever, and he was like, you could come over here and work out for free. Just move this log from here to here and move this lumber from here to here. And it was hilarious. It cracked me up. So John is his channel's really about sawmilling, but that's where I cut my teeth on YouTube mostly, is in the sawmilling world from my cabin. So I thought, why not invite John on? There may be some others popping in tonight too, just to BS, just to hang out and try to answer questions too. So there you go.
I have a solar powered tanning bed.
Called the Sun.
Yeah, it works most of the time.
I don't want to know when you're out there using it.
You can come over and use it anytime. Bring your spandex.
You wouldn't want to see that. Yeah, me and spandex. I don't know. How many of you know about the whole spandex thing? You probably don't. I know that some of the Sawyers do, but I wonder if anybody else has ever heard about. Have any of you on here watched my channel long enough to see my video I did about no spandex? And I had made a commitment, in case anybody's worried, don't worry. I made a commitment that I would never put spandex on. I would never put spandex on, let alone on video camera. I wouldn't do that to you. But we did have some friends, one that threatened to put a Borat suit on and run behind the sawmill, and the other was going to put Daisy Dukes on. And I'm telling you, that would have broke my channel, I think. One of those guys has a business called the Angry Gnome Gunworks or something like that, and he looks like an angry gnome. I would not want him running around in a Borat suit near my sawmill or anywhere near me. So, oh goodness. Oh, South Witsco, Wisconsin. Oh, okay. Where it's cold. So what do you got for us, John? You got any questions you want to talk about? You want to find out why I'm not running my sawmill? Well, you already know. So
I already know.
My sawmill does still run. It does still work, but it is getting lonely though. And I'm glad I put that solar panel on my sawmill's battery, because I can pretty much be assured that battery still works. It has whenever I've needed it.
Did you replace that battery?
I have not replaced it. No.
Really?
Same one from back when I had all that trouble with the alternator. But I did use my sawmill recently, which was in a video. So there is evidence out there that I haven't totally quit running my sawmill.
No, it's all right.
It was in when I was doing the outhouse work. My buddy was up there working on the outhouse, and we needed to trim down some 2x. Well, what better tool to do it with than an LT40 hydraulic sawmill? Do it yourself solar with NetSci. NetSci. That sounds like an interesting name. Yes, Signature Solar is a great option, but A1 Solar Store does not have a minimum. Oh, there you go. You have more warehouse to pick from if you want to. Yeah, that's a good point. I've never heard of them, but there's so many great solar companies out there. So, but that leads right back to I wouldn't buy solar panels on Amazon. I see people do it all the time. I would absolutely buy Victron or Morningstar or any of those kind of companies on Amazon. But I'll be honest with you, before I go buy something like that on Amazon, I'm usually going over to one of those other sites to check on their pricing. Because honestly, if Signature Solar was selling, a Frigma Fratch for the same price as Amazon with no shipping or whatever, I'd buy it from Signature Solar. One, to support their business, but two, because I think they're a better business. And you're going to get better service. And one of the things is like Backwoods Solar. I bought lots of stuff from Backwoods Solar. If you're not familiar with Backwoods Solar, check them out. Those guys, their website is okay. It's okay. It's not what they do. What they do is serious Backwoods Solar. And these guys are so good that I think I first started buying stuff from them in 2010. And I want to say last year I was working on a video and I needed some information that I could not find that of my own purchases. So I called them up and I just said, hey, I think it was Mike I talked to. I said, hey, Mike, can you do me a favor? Can you look up my account and just see when I bought this, who was the man? What was that I got? And I think it was a 24 volt to 12 volt converter. And he was able to find it. And the funny thing is I had two accounts because when I first started buying from them, I lived near where I live today. Then I moved 80 miles away, and I guess they opened up a new account because of my new address. And he was able to find both of those, find all that information, then research it for me to find a new option for me and compile all that information. And then we ended up talking for another 20 minutes, partly about sawmilling because he watched my YouTube channel, but partly just about solar stuff and what we're doing and what they're doing. And they were just getting into Victron at that time. And, so they're great guys. So if you've never checked out Backwoods Solar, I have no affiliate with them. But if you're looking for alternative places to get things, that's where I would look. Now, I'll be honest with you. I've never seen good battery prices on Backwoods Solar. They might have some now, but whenever I've gone there, I've been able to find them better elsewhere. But then I'm also a bit of I look at Costco golf cart batteries, and I think they're a better bang for your buck than most other flooded lead acid batteries. So I just went to Costco. Kevin Riley, nice to see you. Does your cabin have a transfer switch between your power stations and the generator? Any advice? Have a small 120 volt system, a Reliant 6 circuit planning. Yeah, sorta. So the way my cabin is set up, I have the Generac EcoGen 6kW generator. They don't make that one anymore. I bought that in fall of 2013, and I want to say it was expensive. I don't know. My mind tells me $6,000. Maybe it was 3,500. I think it was 3,500, something like that. I actually looked it up in one of my videos once. That generator is designed to run only with off-grid systems. So it actually does not have an alternator. It will not charge its own battery. I think that's silly myself, but whatever. It's the way they built them. It also has to be tied to the ground of your off-grid power system. That actually threw me a loop when I first installed that generator. I couldn't get it to work. It was driving me nuts. And I finally got a hold of Generac, and they said, well, you ran your ground over to your battery negative, right? Which is also grounded. And I went, well, no, that's a 24 volt bank. Why the hell would I do that? The generator's 12 volt. And they said, you have to. It's how that system works. It's something to do with the brains in that generator. I don't know how they did it, but it has to be tied to your solar that way. So once I did that, it worked great. Now, what I have is at that time and now, a 4,000 watt inverter. Now, for all the super geniuses out there in the do-it-yourself solar world, they would all tell me that inverter's too big for the batteries that I initially installed or have today. Well, it's only too big if you try to use every ounce of power that it can produce for like 24 hours a day. Sure, but I use probably between 25, I probably use no more than about 25% most of the time. I put that big inverter in because I wanted an inverter that would run my table saw, my miter saw, my compressor, and something else all at the same time and still power my cabin. I wanted as much available power as possible. And I knew that I would never do it for such an extended period of time that it would drain my batteries down. So yes, I have a bit of an overkill on my inverter, but that inverter is an inverter charger and it has a built-in transfer switch. So the way that works is, and there's two ways you can set those inverters up. These are the low frequency Ames style, or now I'm using a Sun Gold Power, which it's the same color as the Ames. I don't know if Ames had them build their inverters or if Sun Gold Power took Ames's. I don't know. It's almost the same inverter, almost identical. In fact, some parts of it are identical. But anyway, I digress. It has a transfer switch that you can switch from either normal operating shore power or normally operating off the batteries. And so that's the way I typically have it. I have it set so that it knows it's running off the batteries. So what happens when the generator comes on, because I have automatic generator start switch, The generator comes on, warms up, and then sends out the 120 volt, 60 hertz power to that inverter charger. The inverter charger will then use that power to charge those batteries and do pass-through voltage for everything. So what happens is it stops drawing off the battery bank, draws off the generator while charging the battery bank. Now you can have it. The other way to set it up is that it's always assuming that it has shore power or utility power, and it would only draw off the batteries when it needed to because shore power dropped. It's kind of almost the same thing, but I did notice that with it in that mode, it didn't seem to charge the batteries the way I liked it to. It would allow them to sit there longer than maybe it should, for example, and I didn't like that. So I always have it running off of the batteries. But that to me is the best way to go. You could set it up so that you have a power. The original way I had my system set up, actually, I have an Iota 55 amp 12 volt charger that ran directly off the generator. No transfer switch because I don't need one. It just hooks straight to the batteries. So you have generator, you have a charger, and then your batteries all hooked up in line. And if the generator's not on, it doesn't matter. And if it is on, it still doesn't matter because the inverter is drawing power off the batteries and all your 12 volts coming off the batteries. So it's just like having the sun came up and now your solar panels are charging. Now, you did say power station. So I don't use my power stations that way. So if you're asking about specifically all-in-one type power stations, I don't use those at my cabin other than for testing purposes. The only other reason I've used power stations at my cabin, and bear in mind, I've got 9,200 watt hours, so just over 9 kilowatt hours of battery power at the cabin. So that's bigger than most power stations. But the times that I've used them are when if I'm working on my solar power, and so I brought everything down, well, then I use a power station so I can keep things running, run some lights or whatever, run the power tools, or I've used them out there because it was convenient and I was testing them anyway, because I get offers to test power stations. I'm not like there's a guy, he runs a channel. I want to think it's the Solar Shop or something like that. I'd have to look it up. Really great guy. He does a fantastic job of, he's kind of like the Will Pros of power stations in my mind. He beats these power stations up like I've never seen anybody do. Maxes them out constantly until they either let the smoke out or shut down and die. And I like that because it gives me an idea of what these power stations can do. I'm not going to do that. When somebody wants me to test a power station, I'm going to plug my table saw into it and run tools off of it in the real world. In fact, I'm testing one right now that is the wildest, newest, craziest, differentest power station I've ever seen. And it's running one of my freezers right now. And I'll let it run until it dies. And then I'll charge it back up. And then I'll run 2 freezers off of it. And the object there is to try and, when I look at a power station, I want to know, will this do for you what you need it to do? I'm not going to put like 1,500 watt heat guns on it and smoke it. But I'm going to try to do what a person would actually do with a power station if they had one in an emergency situation. That's usually what I'm doing. So, so again, I'm looking at your question again. This is for Kevin Riley. Does your cabin have a transfer switch between power stations and generator? Any advice? Have a small 120 volt system, a Reliant 6 circuit planning. Okay, so it sounds like you're not really a power station. You're do-it-yourself power. Is that right, Kevin? Oh, it is a Bluetti. Oh, okay. All right. Well, in that case, I wouldn't think you would need a transfer switch. I would run the generator to the Bluetti, just like you would normally do to charge it up and leave everything plugged into the Bluetti and running. Because, in fact, much of these systems, Bluetti's one of them. They're one of the top names. But like the one that I'm testing right now, that the name escapes me at the moment. So sorry. But it's different. It's something you've never seen before. I almost guarantee it. But it is designed like a UPS. Most of them are, which is uninterrupted power supply. You plug it in the wall, plug your stuff into it, call it good. Well, the generator just takes the place of that utility power. So you should be able to just plug directly into the generator. never hit a transfer switch. Just fire the generator up when you need to power your Bluetti back up, and it should power up and still provide power through everything else. And a lot of these better quality power stations do pass through voltage as well. So if you're running your cabin off of a power station and you fire up a generator to charge that power station back up, then that power station will use the generator power to run your cabin while it's charging itself back up. That's actually, in my opinion, something they all should do.
So
go ahead.
So how does the Generac know that the Bluetti's dead?
Well, in my case, and that's a good question. So in my case, I use something called an automatic generator start switch. Mine is built by a company called Magnum Research, but a lot of these inverters also have them. So my SunGold Power inverter has a 2-wire generator start. The only problem with those is that they're often set, in my opinion, too low. They're set for what they call catastrophic failure, which is basically 20 volts or 21 volts on a 24-volt system. To me, that's too low. I don't like that. I don't like to use more than about 40% of my LiFePO4 batteries reserve, because the manufacturers will tell you, and several of them have told me this, that if you want to get more life out of them, 30 to 40% is that range. They're just like lead batteries. Lead is no different, right? You can use half of it and get 200 to 300 cycles, or maybe 20% and get 500 cycles. Well, LiFePO4s, you might get 4,000 cycles at 100%, but 20,000 cycles at 40%. Well, 20,000 cycles, I ain't going to be around that long. So, I just as soon get that. So what I use is this automatic generator start switch set at 24 volts. Now, that was for my lead acid system. I'm looking at upgrading that to their newer version, which would allow me to set that at even as high as 26 volts, which is what I would do. Because at 26.2, I think it is, they're sitting at about 65%. And so I wouldn't want them to get below 60%. So I'd probably set it at 26.1, at least 26 anyway. And what happens is it closes that 2-wire start. So it's either normally opened or normally closed. And if you don't know about electric switching systems, that's how they work. It's basically 2 wires. This would be considered normally open if that's the way they always are. And when the voltage drops below that 26 volts or whatever, those two close together, and that tells the generator to start. And that's how it works. And the automatic generator start switch actually hooks up to a shunt in your DC disconnect, so that it can monitor the voltage on the batteries without actually drawing much off the batteries. It'll draw like 100 of what you would normally draw. So it's really tiny, just a trickle charge. So that's how that works. Bluetti, let's see, Bluetti, Anchor, and EcoFlow, top 3 power stations. Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think they might have a new competitor coming on the market today, maybe. I don't know. There's one that I'm working on right now that you would be surprised. It doesn't look anything like them. It has tons of power. It's smaller than most of them, if not all of them, and yet twice the power. And the guys that built it are aerospace engineers, and it's a crazy looking thing. It's crazy. So, all right. Lacetti battery boxes with 1,000 watt inverter and a 100 amp hour battery, small off grid. Oh, is that I'm not familiar with this Lacetti battery box. You mean like a marine battery box, or is it like a power station? Let's see. Tom and Tammy. Oh, Tom and Tammy. Hey, guy. With as much info being shared, a dry erase board would be great. That would be fun to do. It would almost be fun to try to incorporate one on the screen somehow. That could be fun. Absolutely. All right. Well, Cody, thanks for joining us. And we did bring on John. So I want to talk a little bit about sawmilling tonight too, just for fun. And that's why I brought him in. And I know Michael Wilson's here. Andy's here from Adirondack Southern. You guys, I have a hard time saying your name. Southern Adirondack Outdoors. That's a bloody mouthful. And And actually, Tom and Tammy's Off Grid, that's another YouTube channel, another Marine. He's got a sawmill as well. I think is it a Woodland Pro or it's a green one. I know that. So I have got to get up and drop some trees because I've got a mill. I've got to get 2 8-inch, not D logs, but flat top and bottom logs. I don't even know what you'd call that. It's not a cant because a cant would have 4 sides. Come on, John, you're a technical guy. What would you call a log that's flat top and bottom? It's not a D log, a C log. It's a something log. A Woodland Mills, yeah. You're at a loss too.
A live edge beam.
A live edge beam. There you go. Because what I'm going to do with my cabin build is I'm going to get 2 of the bigger trees, do a 8-inch deep flat top and bottom beam, whatever, as a skid log, and I'm even going to cut ski fronts into them, make it really look like a skid log. Maybe I'll put some big bolt eyes on the front. It's all for show. It's one, easy, and if you dry them and then burn them and then maybe even tar them, they'll last a long time. And just put them on the ground on paver blocks and then build the log cabin right on top of them, and that technically makes it a movable building, which from a permitting standpoint could be helpful. Of course, absolutely. My cabin's not permitted anyway, but you never know. That's a good one. My fake skis. I think it's a great idea, right? What are they going to say? Oh, I can pull it around with my tractor. Bull crap. Right. I get a dozer up here. I can move it, right?
It's movable.
But and I've gone back and forth on that because I did a lot of D logs that, due to my back, I did not get them covered properly or stacked and stickered properly. And I was also doing that structure, kind of trying to show what a D log structure would look like. Well, that did not work out well for drying logs nice and flat. And I kind of knew that would happen, but I was doing it anyway because it was a suggestion from my dad, bless his heart. And I think it was a great suggestion because it gave people watching an idea of what I was trying to accomplish. But now I have to go back and fix those. Not all of them, but some of them did get twisted. And some do anyway. I've had logs that you made a perfect boxed heart or free of heart center that still moved because it depends on where the tree grew even, right? If it grows on the side of a hill, guess what? Ain't going to move the way you might think it does. So the plan is to put those skis on the ground. That's what I'm going to call them. Build a floor on top of those. And I'm going to build a fairly heavy floor. I'm thinking 3x6s. The span of a traditional Doug fir number 2x6 is, I think, 10 feet. 9.5, 10 feet, right in that range. And I know my cabin's 2x6s span 9 feet, and that's within spec. But I'm thinking 3x6s because they'll be heavy and they're not necessarily going to be number 2s or Doug fir, but I don't really care. But I want to be able to put a wood stove in there without it falling through the floor. And then we're going to build a D-log cabin on top. And I'm going to take all those logs and mill them back down to 5-inch, I think. And that way, any of them that have a little bit of a twist in it, we can sneak that out of them. It's a cabin. You're going to chink it. It doesn't really matter anyway. But the flatter they are, the better. And any that have twisted, we'll just cut them down and then remill them, and they'll be fine. So that is the plan for the spring. And I've got some buddies that have been helping me out up there. I may try to do a party where we get together and get like 4 or 5 guys to stack logs. So from a sawmilling standpoint, I've got to get those logs milled, which means I got to get them down. And I can't seem to get Michael up here to do it for me. So he can't even get back to his own ranch to get his cable for his Starlink satellite. And John's too far away. So, he's not coming out here.
Just run your 3 of those ski logs under it.
Well, I was thinking about doing that too. The problem with running 3 is it's harder to get 3 perfectly matched up and level and everything else. I guess you could shim. I was thinking that too, because if I ran 3, it makes a hell of a strong floor. And then you could do 2x6s and it wouldn't matter if they were utility grade, frankly, because you'd only be spanning 5, not even 5 feet, right? Because it'll be 10 feet wide. So, but
Doug fir is the best you have for ground contact.
No, there's some tamarack there, but it's not big enough. So it'll be ponderosa pine that'll be ground contact. But the one thing that I learned watching shows, like if you've ever watched Alaska: The Last Frontier, they built a cabin up there. The grandfather did on the ground, pretty much on rocks, basically with big logs, and the logs rotted out. So they jacked up the floor, pulled the log out, stuck another log underneath it, bolted it back together, and it'll be good for another 20 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't care. But yeah, Tim, it'd be like a fishing shack. Exactly. Only a 10 by 12 fishing shack made out of 5-inch ponderosa pine D logs with probably a 612 pitch roof with purlins and 1.25 inch paneling, and it'll be heavy. You'll need a bulldozer to move it. But, and again, if you guys got questions for either me, and you can ask any questions, I don't care. It'd be solar power, power stations, batteries, building a cabin, running a sawmill, driving a Jeep. I don't care. Whatever you want to know, ask away. And John, I mean, he can answer some questions too, especially on the sawmilling side, because unlike me, he's still running his sawmill all the time. I'm a little bit less off running my sawmill these days. And if you're just sitting here to listen to us BS, we're going to do that.
So, instead of tar, you can just use diesel fuel and use motor oil too. I know people.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I had planned on doing that at the outhouse, the Taj McPrivy. Somebody suggested that on that video, I think. And so I thought that's actually a good idea. Taking that, I've got a bunch of used motor oil because I've been lazy and I haven't, you could take it to like a O'Reilly's or wherever, Napa, and they'll, dump it in the bin or whatever. And so I've got about 4 gallons of it sitting out there behind the house. And I'm like, I never thought about adding diesel, but it thins it out, I guess. So it makes it, go over a greater distance. And
the diesel draws it. No, well, it does that too, of course. But the diesel draws it into the wood. The wood absorbs the diesel, and then when the diesel is being drawn in, it's lashed onto an oil.
Oh,
and it draws that oil into the wood. That's what it's for.
Gotcha. Definitely fit in here in the Pine Barrens on the East Coast. I don't know about Joyzy though. All right, I got one for you guys with the sawmills. Me and the wife have been looking into sawmills and what would be a decent, reasonable priced one. Okay, before I answer that, hold on. Okay, so Tuesday. I'm going to answer that question, but I'm going to answer it tonight too. And I'd like John to answer this too. So first, I'm going to let John go, but Tuesday's video is going to be on that very subject. But let's see what John has to say and see if he and I agree. And if we don't, that's okay. We can argue. Go ahead, John. Take it away.
It all depends on what you want to use it for. Me and the wife been looking into sawmills and what would be a decent, reasonable price one. What do you want to do with it? You want to make a business, or you just want to build a cabin? If you just want to build a cabin, see if your neighbor has a sawmill and go use him or hire him to do it. If you want to start a business, don't go any smaller than a hydraulic LT35. I know nobody wants to spend, what are they, probably 31,000 now for 35?
You can't get those in the 20s anymore?
I don't think so.
Wow.
Probably not since COVID. But your own property, your own milling.
Yeah, so there's
build a cabin. Yeah. Okay, then now you're just doing it for yourself. Then you can go with, Tim's Hudson, the little Hudson manual mills. You can go with the Wood-Mizer little manual mills. You can go with any of those, the big manual mills, I think.
Yeah. Woodland Mills. There's a bunch.
I think the Norwood and the Woodland Mills are had some customer relation problems.
Yeah, I heard that.
They might be over that. They might be over that since COVID. I don't know. And Woodmiser they had some backup problems during COVID.
Well,
But
and
I
then they've
think they're
had some
pretty much over
manufacturing
that.
issues too, right? I know they've had some trouble with their
Yeah.
newest, the big mills though, not the little ones. I don't think. So I'm going to tell you. So John said something that I actually am saying on Tuesday as well, and you'll probably hear this from anybody that owns a sawmill that's done it as a business at least. Maybe not hobby sawyers, home sawyers, because maybe they haven't thought about it the way we do. But I think you'll find from guys that have run businesses with their sawmills, with which both John and I have done. He still does. I'm currently not, but it's not that expensive to bring somebody out. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know any sawyer, real sawyer, that's going to tell you to buy a Harbor Freight. I wouldn't. I would tell you to run away from there as fast as you can. But so when you're looking at a small sawmill, like say a Woodmiser LX25, maybe with like a 9-horse motor or whatever they're putting on them today, you're probably looking at about $4,000. But when I was charging $100 an hour, I could come out in a weekend with my LT40 hydraulic and mill up 50, 60 logs for you. And that would cost you, $1,600 to $2,000. So half the price. Well, that could be anywhere in the neighborhood of, 4,000 or 5,000 board feet or more, depending on the logs that you have. I've milled 4,000 board feet in one day. So imagine if I came out with my big sawmill and I milled for, let's say, 14 hours on a Saturday and a Sunday, and we only average 300 board feet an hour, which is okay. That's okay. So that's 4,200 board feet of lumber. If you're building a cabin in the woods, that's probably your cabin. And the beauty of that is that I already know what I'm doing, right? You get John to come out for you. He already knows what he's doing. He's milled thousands upon tens and perhaps hundreds of thousands. I've milled over 300,000 board feet of lumber. And I've got lots of structures that have been built with my lumber. And I have customers that have called me back as many as 12 times to mill for them. So you're getting more than a guy with a sawmill, right? You're getting somebody that's produced tons and tons of lumber, that knows what they're doing, that can read the log. And when you say, oh, I hadn't thought about it, but I could really use a 4x12 beam, well, then I could look at the logs that you have and make the better suggestion as to what log to get that beam out of. And so if you're only looking at it as I'm going to build a cabin, a single structure, I don't know that I'm going to do more than that. It may be better to bring out a guy like John to do that milling for you at least that first time, because you're going to learn a ton and you're going to work really hard. But you may come away from that either with, I'm buying a sawmill tomorrow, or I can wait before I get that sawmill. So I'm going to tell you exactly the same thing John did. If somebody comes to me and asks me that question, I always come back with, do you really want a sawmill? Because I love having a sawmill. Don't get me wrong. And I know John does. We love our sawmills, and I would never do without it. But I know a lot of people that bought sawmills that used them a few times and then they sat, and 10 years later they sold them. So you got to be honest with yourself. Now, if you're going to be honest with yourself and you said, I want, and I'm going to move this back up. Hang on, let me move this back up to the original question so everybody knows what we're talking about. If you're like I was, I started out with a chainsaw mill and then decided that wasn't good enough, and I moved to a bandsaw mill. Before I started getting older and realizing that my teenage sons were growing up and leaving and I was getting rid of my free labor, that little LT10 Woodmiser milled a boatload of lumber. And that's equivalent to kind of their LX25 today. The small Hudson mills, the small Woodland mills, I think there's Timber King, Baker, they all make small mills. And I would just tell you that you want to look at those mills, the Woodmiser LX25, LX50, the Hudson mills, all these name companies. Don't go to a Harbor Freight. or an off name brand. And also look for who's local to you, because just like a tractor, you want your support base to be fairly close if possible, right? If Wood-Miser's 1,000 miles away, I mean, I love Wood-Miser. I do believe they make the best mills out there. I think Baker might give them a run for their money sometimes, or maybe Timber King, but Wood-Miser is kind of like the Cadillac when it comes to these sawmills, especially the big LT40, LT50, LT70s. These are monsters. And the LT35 is a great mill. But if you don't need it, you could look at those smaller ones, and you may get all the milling you need done, but those are on the ground. So now you got to move logs to the mill, you got to move the lumber off the mill, etc. And they are limited, right? The LX25 is probably limited to a 24-inch log, and it's probably 14 feet long, and it can mill like 10 feet or something, right? You just got to.
It's limited to how strong your back is too.
Yeah,
obviously, you know.
Oh, yeah. And once you put it on a trailer, which is fantastic, there's two problems that you get with putting it on a trailer. Let me see if John can nail those two problems you're going to run into right away immediately. What are they, John?
The only two problems putting it on a trailer: getting your log up there and getting it. Now you got to level it, right? You got to square that trailer.
It's close. Getting the log up's number one. You got to get a log. If you don't have hydraulics, you're going to need a tractor. But the other thing that you're going to have happen that John knows, I'm kind of throwing him under the bus here though, but he knows this, is your neighbor's going to find out.
Yeah. Well,
and so they're going to say, "Can you bring your sawmill over to my house?" And then you're going to have a business.
Right. So if you're getting one to build your cabin, then yeah, just get on Wood-Miser's page and see where the closest sawmill is. Get on Wood-Miser, search by state. You'll find the closest sawyer to you, and hire him and have him come over and mill up your logs. If you want to, if you think you want to learn how to do it and you want to buy your own mill still just to do it and have it for your own, then go. I always tell people, go to a sawyer. Wood-Miser again right on their page says that who will give demonstrations for their sawmill, and just go over there and get a demonstration from him and see if you like it, and offer to carry a few boards for him and turn a few logs for him and see if you like it. Then if you do, and then if you want to go get dusty and you want to learn it, you want to take the time to learn how to do those logs and cut that lumber, then go ahead. But to me, I like whatever. I like the law. I like being an electrician. I like having power in my sawmill shed. There you go. I like having power in my sawmill shed, but I don't want to learn how to run all the wires, and whether it's 220 or whether it's solar powered or what the volts or amps are. You know what I mean? I don't want to learn any of that stuff. I don't want to take the time to do it. I like having power, but I don't want to figure all that stuff out. So I'm going to hire an electrician. Yeah, I'm going to hire an electrician. It's.
Hi, Jen. By the way, nice to see you. I don't recognize you. You must be one of John's. Are you one of John's?
Jen?
Yeah, Jen.
I was on the Jen Hardy show. She has a live.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I was on her live podcast.
Oh, right on. Well, nice to meet you, Jen. I don't think we've met. I'm Eric. So I'm going to tell you on Tuesday, my Tuesday video, which hopefully you still watch because I'm giving it all away now. But that's the approach I take. First is, if you're not sure or you want to learn or you only have one project, hiring somebody to come in would be great. Now, I would tell you, if you're thinking of doing that, get on forestryforum.com. If you're thinking of buying one, get on forestryforum.com. If you want to learn about running them, get on forestryforum.com. And I'm not affiliated with them, but that's where I learned, where I cut my teeth. All my original threads are still there. I will tell you that I look at sawmills in a few different classes. So I look at them as the under $5,000 class. That's your LX models, a lot of your Hudson products, a lot of those guys, small mills on the ground, very, very simple, all manual, great to run. Loved my LT10. I actually wish I still had it. There was just something about pushing it down the log I actually enjoyed. I know I'm a sick human being, right?
Nope.
But Yeah,
It's the feel. It's
it
the
is.
feel. I
Yeah,
ran that Norwood whatever, 2000 or whatever. And man, it's the feel. You can feel the blade, or you can feel the mill going on the 35 too, because you're walking right there. But man, when you're manual, you can feel that blade going through there. You have so much more feel,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
it is a great feeling.
Yep. Now,
If you like lumber,
right. If you like
electricity.
making it, you want making
Right.
sawdust. Now,
If you
Andy,
don't like electricity, then getting shocked is not very much fun.
right. Yeah. So
But
Andy from Southern Adirondack Outdoors and Michael Wilson were in the chat. I don't know if you guys are still there. Let us know. But let me see what I got. Okay. Just checking chats here. Both of those guys run a mill that I highly recommend in the next category, which is your $5,000 to $10,000 range. Now it might be pushing that. I'm not sure, so I'm hoping Andy or Michael can come in and give me an idea what those run. But that's your Woodmiser LT15. And the Woodmiser LT15 is capable of putting out as much board feet per hour as either my mill or John's is, believe it or not. And yet it's an all manual mill that starts on the ground, but you can get it on a trailer package. So you can absolutely get these mills. And I know Hudson makes them in that category. I'm sure the others do, in that $5,000 to $10,000, $12,000 range. Those are great mills as well. And maybe if you're not really looking at it as a mobile business, though you can use those mobile on the trailer. But if you look at Southern Adirondack Outdoors or Wilson Forest Lands, they both run those LT15s on the ground, and they mill a ton of lumber with those. And I believe they both sell lumber. I know Michael has. I think Andy and Paul do too. And then Tim and Rick France from Two Brothers Outdoors, they run Hudson mills. And I know that Tim's new mill's probably in that range as well, above the 5K mark, right? They mill a ton of lumber on those. So that's a great option for somebody who maybe wants to get in the business, thinks that they could be selling some lumber at some point, but they're not ready to jump into a mill like the Arrowhead Carpenter who's on here. He's got a Woodmiser, and I always get this wrong. I want to say it's an LT20 or 28 or 25. It's an LT20 series. There, I got it right. It's an all manual mill like John's. Actually, yeah, I think it's more similar to yours than mine, right? But it's all manual. And although I think it may be the head's motorized, but it doesn't have hydraulics. Any recent alien sightings? Hey, out at my place, maybe. But I don't know. There's a story out there. But and that mill kind of bridges the gap between the LT15 and the LT35. No hydraulics, but it's a great mill. You can really produce a lot of lumber on that. And so if you can't afford LT40 or LT35, the hydraulic mills, you can get those mills around 20 grand, I think. Very, very capable mills. But again, you got to get your logs up on the mill deck. Now, they have winches that can winch them up the ramps. Personally, I like having a grapple on my sawmill. I used to use forks. Now it's a grapple. Pick the log up, boom, set her down, done. And if you get good at it, you can do it. And then, of course, getting the lumber off. Having forks helps with that because then you can just slide your forks right up there and away you go. If you're getting up there in years and you've got back trouble like me, then hydraulics can't be beat. And the LT35 not only has all of that and then some, but it's a great, and I hate to say this, but in my opinion, John, sorry, it's a great entry level mill into the hydraulic business class mills. It's not quite as heavy or heavily built as the LT40, LT50, LT70s are, but it's an excellent mill. And I know lots of guys that have milled hundreds of thousands of board feet of lumber on those LT35s. Full hydraulics, computerized set works, motorized, you name it. It almost makes your coffee. Those are great mills, and those are around your $30,000 mill. But personally, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to jump right to the LT40. And the reason is if I'm getting that mill, I'm probably going to be tackling bigger logs. I'm probably going to start getting paid to mill for somebody else. And from my perspective, the LT40 is just so much heavier that it's going to take the abuse more and longer. And I know guys that have milled literally millions of board feet on LT40s and above. So that's kind of my spiel. I'm not even going to go into the bigger mills because, frankly, then you really need to go spend some time on them. But if you're not looking to do it for a business and you need hydraulics, LT35 all day long. You don't need to spend the money for the LT40 if you don't think you're going to be dragging it all over the countryside and milling up a million board feet of lumber. But right. Beyond that,
well, so I look at the LT40 as more of the production. You know what I mean? You want to knock out some pine, and you want to do that quickly. Get you an LT40. You know what I mean? But if you want to run a nice small business and you got some high dollar walnut logs, your LT35 is going to make you just as much money as producing a million board feet of pine. You know,
and they're close.
Some high quality walnut.
They're close in production. Your max rate production isn't much less than the LT40 either.
No, right. But it is the entry level. You know what I mean? Hydraulic mill, and there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and Michael Wilson popped in that 6,200 for an LT15 start. They're like his. Yep. So thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Yeah. So that's you're looking at a sawmill. That's kind of the breakdown, really. There's another one from Michael. Sell a little bit of lumber. It was ready to get. If I was ready to get into selling lumber, I'd want a bigger one. Yep. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of that, not quite the bridging the gap with an LT35, but it's a super capable mill. And I watched Wood-Miser's shootout years ago. This was probably back around 2010. I watched them do 900 board feet in an hour on an LT15. Hey, you bet. Absolutely. Jen, sorry, we're distracted. No, you're not. It's okay.
That's her husband, David, right there.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah.
Nice to meet you, David Hardy. And so where are you guys? Wait, what's? Oh, bacon shirt. We like bacon.
They're in Florida. They were in that
Florida.
Freaking Eye of the Hurricane Milo. They're going live.
Boy.
Eye of the Hurricane. And she runs a real popular
All right,
podcast.
Tim. Hopefully it goes well for you. I get to see mine on Tuesday. What's today? Oh, I get to see mine sometime this week in 4 days. Both of them. But all right. So what else we got? Any more questions? We still got a few folks out there. We've been going just over an hour and a half. Any more questions? Power supplies, batteries, life, cougars, bears, wolves, oh my, cabin stuff, whatever. Ask away. We're just here to BS and have a good time and answer your questions. So don't be shy.
The alien sightings, those are over, Jen. No more alien sightings.
Actually,
the farmers. That was my short about the aliens.
Oh, was it?
But the farmers are in the field across the street at night. They got like 100 lights on their,
Did you see that video that I put out? Oh, in the winter with the big glowing orb in the sky. Oh, you never saw that? So I was out at the cabin, and it might have been. It was in the middle of winter. I don't remember exactly when. It wasn't real bad because there wasn't a lot of snow. So it could have been, maybe it was late winter, early spring. I don't remember, but I'd gone outside to check the temperature. I don't have I have a indoor outdoor thermometer, but it's not. It's indoor and indoor. It shows me the temperature at the base of my batteries in my room that my batteries are in. All my solar power is in there now, and my composting toilet. So I'll go out on the deck in the morning and just check the temperature out of curiosity sometimes. And I was doing some filming. And so I go out on the deck and I'm drinking some coffee and I'm looking around and I'm talking to the camera. And I look up and I see this bright ball of like fire in the sky, but it's like not in the sky. It's in the hillside. And I'm going, wait, that's not even in the horizon. That's down below the hill, like That's a big light. Like it looked like someone was like there was a spotlight aimed at me. It was huge. It was crazy. And so I kept looking at it. And I'll be honest, I was kind of getting weirded out by it because I was like, okay, is that someone spotlighting me from the, the hillside about 200-300 yards away, right? And I kept going, all right, that's it. I gotta go and investigate this. So I go back in the cabin, but I'd been drinking coffee all morning. And I'm, wait, what year is this? I'm like 59 years old, aren't I? So, you're drinking a lot of coffee in the morning. You got to get some business done. So I had to take care of some business before I could go check it out. And I go back out and I'm going to jump in my truck and head up the hill and go find out who's got a spotlight on my property. Because it was, we're talking a bright, big kind of light shining through the trees and it looked like it was below the hill. What I didn't notice was that there's actually a saddle in the hill right there. And it was the moon sitting right on the horizon in that saddle. And because the trees are all growing up on the hillside, it looked like a light in the hillside, right? So I'm like, I got aliens here, but it was just the moon on the horizon. Oh, good Lord. All right. $2,000 to get the kick to make it mobile. Yeah, that's not bad at all. All right. What else we got? Stream elements. That's a 404 error link. What? Why are we getting that? Who's getting a 404 error?
I don't know. That's what she says. She's getting off my stream elements.
Oh, off yours?
Yeah,
bad gateway
off my
too?
channel.
Wow. That's not good.
I don't understand it. I don't understand what they're saying.
So there must be
a disconnect
somewhere.
The 8-ball worked for me.
What's
you
8-ball?
See the stream elements?
What's
you
that?
See the stream elements answered right there? Stream elements.
Oh, yeah.
The chat? Yeah. The 8-ball. That's the 8-ball. So
you guys play with this stuff too much. I don't do all that. Oh gosh, I didn't know what you're up to. Yeah. Okay. So
it's stream elements. Type exclamation point 8-ball.
I'm just here to answer questions and BS. You guys figuring out all this technical stuff, and I'm a technical geek too, but not for. I got better things to worry about. So, all right, where are we at? Oh, they raised the mobile kit to 2,200. Okay, he's gone now. Anyway, Tim had to leave, Michael. So thanks for checking into that, though. And we lost Andy, I guess. I think it's past Andy's bedtime, though. So what else do we got? We still got a few folks out there. I'm willing to go. And basically, here's how it goes. I'll keep going if you got questions, if you want to talk about something. So be sure to toss those out. And, David, is that for John or me? Either one of us. Thank you for that. That's awesome. And I got to scratch an eyeball here. Sorry, guys. But we're here to answer questions and BS with you. So you ask, we'll still keep going. If you don't, well, then that's okay. All right. What else do we got? I think I've gone through what I'm working on. I will tell you that the DC to DC converters, some of you have mentioned those in the past on my channel. I'm actually was aware of those, but I'm a busted up old jarhead living on a fixed income, and I couldn't really afford to get them. But I did get 2 recently. And those I'm going to be playing with, and I'm excited to play with those because I've known about them because I've been into the overlanding kind of stuff for a while. If you don't know what that is, it's basically kind of like car camping in a Jeep, although a lot of people do it in Toyotas and whatever. Put a rooftop tent on your rig and get your rig up so that you can go wheeling somewhere and go camping. And I put out a video in the summer, actually, when I went out for my birthday and headed up to a lake at about 4,600 feet in elevation and did some fishing out of my canoe. And because I've become a busted up old jarhead over the years, I had to use a motor. So I used one of my batteries and a motor and tootled around. It was great. But so I've known about DC to DC converters for a while. Just about everybody in the overland community uses them. Hook it up to your battery so that it's getting power straight from the alternator. Run heavier gauge wire all the way back to your power station, your batteries, whatever you've got. a lot of these guys use, like Red Arc and stuff like that, and build kind of like do-it-yourself solar systems in their vehicles. It's pretty amazing what they do. And I just didn't have one, couldn't afford it. And they're actually not too expensive. I was surprised to see that. I've got a Redodo, although I think they call it Redodio. It's a 400 watt unit, I think, and they run about $160. So that's actually not too bad. So we'll be playing with those. Definitely going to be doing a lot more off-grid stuff. I will tell you that those that don't know, the off-grid power stuff, in part, other than my channel's always been about my cabin, in part is just because I'm not able to do as much sawmilling and cabin building as I'd like right now. So I'll keep doing off-grid videos until I can get, and cabin videos whenever I can get up there. I am getting up there soon. I've got to get up and order roofing for the Cosmic Privy Outhouse and for the storm doors in the back room, because that is almost done. And I am hell-bent on getting that sawmill up and running, hopefully in about 2 weeks, to start milling live edge paneling or siding for the outside of that room. And if I can get my buddy Robert to come up, who's really into doing electrician stuff, and I'm not. I mean, I can do it. It's not my thing. He's planning on coming up, and we're going to take a real serious look at how we can take my cabin power and clean it up, because every time I've worked on it, it's been basically in an emergency. And so things just get run, right? So if you watch my channel at all in the winter, you know that I ran up there in January when it was going to dip down to supposedly 15 below zero, but it got to 30 below, and raced to get my LifePo 4 batteries into my heated back room and move all my solar power and everything back there. And we literally just started running wires, and, it's a mess. So hopefully he can get up there and help with that, and we'll put some conduit through the wall, and I'll finish the siding on that back room, and that's going to help a lot. And then I will be working on the inside. We'll get the wiring cleaned up. We'll get everything installed better, nice clean install, and then I've got some plans for that back room. But we'll be doing some power station work at the same time, because when we take the power down, I'll be able to fire up a power station to run the cabin off of. And the only unfortunate part is the power station that I may be using is limited to 400 watts of solar. And I've got my small array is 600 and as much as 670 if the sun's just right and the temperature's right. I don't think that'd work really well. So we'll see whether I bother that. Though I may get a 400 watt foldable solar panel pretty soon too. I don't know when I will. They don't have them in stock. I'm curious how well those work. I've had 100 watters and 200 watters. They work okay. They're fine. I kind of don't like them in the sense that when you fold them up and then you unfold them, you can't get them perfectly aligned at the sun very easily, because they're like, it's like a piece of paper that you fold it up and then you unfold it and it stands up. That means that you've got a lot of angles. And if you've got a lot of angles, you're not going to get optimum solar out of it. So it'll be interesting to see, can you really get 400 watts out of one of those? I've actually never gotten 100 watts out of a 100 watt foldable solar panel, because it's never been set perfectly perpendicular to the sun in just the right conditions. And that's not unusual. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's just the way it is sometimes. So all right, where are we at?
That didn't show up on Stream Elements on who got the gifted memberships on my channel, did it?
You did. But it did
right,
not.
But who got them?
Go here. Usually, I think
that's the first time. So it's always just random when you give away membership. But yep. David Hartley got one. David Hartley, who's in the chat, who just gave me the $5. He got one.
He got one.
Carnivore Backwoods. You remember him? He was on Two Brothers Outdoors Live. I know Carnivore Backwoods. Kyle Markley, I know him. Old Man in the Saw, I know him. That's like 4 out of the 5 that I know.
Oh, so Dave got one. I'm trying to see where
Dave got one.
Oh, here we go. So Belladonna got one. Electric Buzz, Jeff Williams 80. Cheryl.
No, that's yours.
Yeah, these are
That's
mine.
yours.
I'm saying, and then
Yeah.
A Cam. So those guys all. That's so that yeah. I'm always hoping that Michael Wilson or somebody's going to get one, but sorry, guys.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is the first time. That's my son-in-law got one.
Oh,
Carnivore Backwoods, and David Hartley got one. You know, four out of the 5 I knew. You know, that were on the channel.
that's
All
awesome.
the other times I've ever given them away, it's just been to random people that I just
Cool.
have never heard of before. You know.
Very cool. All right, what else we got,
Very
folks?
cool.
Got any questions? You want to know? What do you want to know?
I want to know. I'll tell you what I want to know.
Okay.
I want to know how long you can run that generator on your propane tank. Have you ever figured that out?
It uses about half a gallon per hour.
Half a gallon an
running
hour.
at least about 3,000 watts.
Okay.
I think the max they predict it would use would be 1 to 1.5 gallons. I've never seen it use more than about a half a gallon. So if I could use all 450 watts gallons that they put in the winter, because in the winter they'll fill it up. Well, it's probably more like 425. They get it up to about 85% because it's winter and you can get away with it. So theoretically, I could run it for over 800 hours straight, and it does have.
Good luck.
It has a got an emergency. Oh, okay, Jen. Well, hopefully you. Hopefully everything works out. But I theoretically could run that thing for like close to 100 hours. No, not 100 hours. 1,000 hours. About 800 hours.
Yeah. Right.
Now it's not. I don't think.
That's what
I don't think it's running right now. I did have a problem this last time at the cabin, the first time I've ever noticed it happen. And the generator is putting out some crappy voltage right now. It's running about 115 to 116 volts. Now, technically, North American standards is +5, -10. So -10 or -20 now. I can't remember, but it can drop down to 108, so -10. Yeah, so 108 to 125 is acceptable voltage in North America. So theoretically 115, 116 is okay, and it is running 60 hertz. But what happened was I was running the generator because it'd been pretty cloudy, and I decided, why not? I'll just run the generator, get the batteries topped off, and use it to run my miter saw. And which I don't need to do, but it comes from the lead acid days where you just do that because you don't want to drain your batteries. And every time I started to run it, at first it would run fine, and then I would hear this beep, and all of a sudden all my batteries would drop all that. So they have an amp reading on the front that tells you how many amps they're either drawing in or kicking out, right? And they would go to zero. It would zero out the batteries. And it would tell me that it's gone into bypass mode, which is normal, but that means that the charger kicked off. So it's in bypass mode, meaning that it's pulling all of the power off the generator, but it's not charging the batteries. So I don't know if the inverter charger didn't like the power coming in and shut down, or if the generator wasn't capable of putting out the power needed to run 1,000-watt charger while running a saw that can draw as much as 1,800 watts. Now, a 6,000-watt generator should be able to do that without batting an eye, but it is 11 years old and hasn't been serviced in 9 years. I don't think. Right. So probably it's the generator, and it probably needs a good service. That's my guess. But all I did was shut it off and ran off my batteries, and they didn't care. I could run. I'm so cautious because of my flooded lead acid battery days that I'm just, it's like a habit, right? I want to run my saws. I'm going to fire up my generator, but I don't need to. So I need to get Generac out and do a service. I don't know if I'm going to do it before the snow flies, so I don't know if I'll get them out there because the snow's starting to fly now. But I think I need to get them out and do a complete service on that generator and make sure that because I know you can adjust it back up to 120 volts, and I'd like them to do that and maybe do a load test on it and find out, can it really put 6,000 watts out, or is it starting to fade on me after 11 years? Michael, I know, right? I guess it's it's like there's 14,500 people that wants to give it to somebody else all the time. I can't imagine what it'd be like. You'd need to give away 100 for us to even have a hope to get one on your channel. And if those of you don't know, Michael Wilson and I, we've been chatting back and forth for probably 3 years now. I don't even know. He actually lives down by where I was born. And in fact, we figured out we were born in the same hospital. He's a little younger than me, but good guy. And we talk about getting together all the time. His channel's blown up on him, so he's super busy these days. So I don't know if I'm ever going to con him into coming out and falling trees for this busted up old jarhead, but I'm trying. I am trying. And I'm hoping someday to get him up here. I might have to go down there first, though. We'll see. I threatened to bring my sawmill down there, but he doesn't want me to do that because then he'd want to buy one, and they're expensive. So, but so yeah, we've been bantering back and forth a little while now. I remember when I don't think you'd had your channel for more than a year. Your sawmill was still bright and shiny orange, and you were running your mill, and somehow I don't even remember how I found out about you. I just, you know how it is. You run a channel, you research and stuff, you find somebody. And I think I looked at your channel and watched you running your mill, and I thought, wait a minute, that looks an awful lot like Southern Oregon. And gee whiz, that's true. So anyway, any other questions, folks? We're bumping up against 7:30. That's just about 2 hours, which is generally about what I do when I do these lives. We still got 11 of you out there. So is it going to be Bourbon 30, or do you got some questions? I got a comment here that I want to, let's have a look at this comment. Brand new comment. Anchor F3800 has two XD60 solar inputs that can take 1,200 watts each. That's 24 volts. 100 amp hour batteries can deliver 1,200 watts to one input. Actually, that 24 volt, 100 amp hour battery could deliver 2,560 watts, and it could do that to multiples. So that's over on my channel. But if you figure a 24 volt battery is 25.6 volts times 100 is 2,560. So to answer his question, yes, it can deliver 1,200. It could actually deliver twice that, though typically the cutoff on a 100 amp hour battery, it's all about the BMS. So the batteries that I did, the lead time batteries I looked at a couple videos back, those have a 200 amp BMS, and they will allow you to draw that 200 amps, but it's more like 100 sustainable. So the 24 volt battery, 100 amp BMS, I'd have to look at the specs on it because they're all different, but it could definitely do 1,200, but I bet you can do 1,200 to two power stations at once. And I am going to do that video within probably the next week, where I'm going to do 2 power stations off one battery, maybe 3, as well as 2 batteries into one power station. So we'll be playing with some of those just to kind of show you some options. And again, this is not like a permanent solution kind of thing. This is the power's gone out. I'm going to be down for 2 or 3 days or whatever. You know, can I keep my fridge running and keep my food from spoiling over that period of time? Maybe run some lights and charge up a cell phone or something. Yes, you can absolutely do that. If you're in a situation where power is going to be down for 2 or 3 weeks, well, then you need a lot more solar. I'll tell you that, or a generator or a DC to DC converter to charge those batteries up. But you can do that, absolutely. You have seriously thought about coming up. Does that count? I don't know, John. What do you think? He's not on here with us, so he can't really defend himself. You know, Michael, it's just, you know, I guess it's kind of like saying I was thinking about falling that tree. Is it on the ground?
I was thinking about it.
I think you should come up. I think we'd have a great time, and I think our subscribers, our viewers would probably really enjoy that. What would be really fun, I got to tell you, what would be something seriously fun would be if the bunch of us that do the forestry roundtable could meet up in the woods in, like, I don't know, Wisconsin or something, maybe at Arrowhead's place, and just sit around a big old fire and BS for a couple hours and just film it and just throw it out there. But
isn't that where the forestry forum has their? Is that Michigan?
No, I
Michigan,
want
or
to
was
say
that?
they do one in, like, Michigan.
Is that Michigan?
Yeah, I think there's one in Michigan, and then Jake Dean used to do one down in Georgia. I don't think he did one. He did one this year that I was going to try to get to, but I wasn't in a position to go. And I told Lynn and others that, I mean, I'm 3,400 miles away, so that's kind of a challenge for me to get that far, and I don't like flying a whole lot with my back the way it is. So it'd be a long day, but and I put out 3 videos a week on my YouTube channel.
A long day.
So yeah, could you imagine, like, for me to travel somewhere for a week, I've got to try to get 6 videos out and have video ready to go for the following week when I come back. And I did recently kind of skip a couple days. I don't know if anybody noticed that. If you watch my videos every day, it's usually Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden it went Tuesday, no Thursday, no Saturday. Or no, I think it went no Tuesday, Thursday, no Saturday. And then I came back on Tuesday and started going again. And that was the trip we went up to the cabin. And that's another good thing to mention while we're here, BS, and waiting to wind down here. If I don't answer comments, I try to answer every comment I can, though I'll be honest, sometimes when you get 10 or 15 comments deep, it's hard to keep up and keep going, but I do try to answer them. So if you make a comment on one of my videos and I don't answer you right away, probably within 20 minutes to an hour, if it's not the middle of the night anyway, then I'm probably at the cabin. I do not have internet at the cabin. I had a HughesNet up there. That's why you see those 2 little dishes. When I was living up there, I lived up there alone. It was nice having TV. So I had satellite TV and I had HughesNet internet. I don't any longer. I decommissioned those a long time ago, but I am looking at Starlink, and I will probably get a Starlink connection up there sometime soon. I will tell you there's something else I'm going to do, and that is I'm going to get a drone. But I got to take the FAA drone course and get my license, because you do actually have to have a drone license if you're going to use drone footage on monetized videos. So thank you for all being here and helping me be monetized. But in order to put drone footage out there so that you could see those cool shots, which I would love to bring to you because there's so much more to show you out there, I have to have that license, or you can get a pretty heavy duty slap on the wrist. So, we got Tom and Tammy, 600 amp hours. Yeah, you guys have a monster system. If you guys haven't checked out Tom and Tammy's off-grid homestead, they've got a serious off-grid power system. 600 amp hours. Yeah, I've got 360 amp hours at 24 volts. So that would be the equivalent of 180 amp hours at 48. Gives you an idea how big his system is. That's huge. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think I'm going to call it quits, guys. Appreciate everybody being here. I really do. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I did not have any advertising running tonight, so my plan is for future lives, I will try to do that. I also do lives. I do try to do lives about twice a month. I usually join the Forestry and Sawmill Roundtable as well. We have a lot of fun. You'll see John on there, Rick and Tim, Andy and Paul, Michael Wilson joins quite often. We have a good time over there, and I still try to join those. My biggest issue with lives, though, is that my time at my cabin is usually on the weekends. I no longer live there full time, but I'm usually gone either a Thursday or Friday through till Sunday. And so if I'm up there during the weekends, when I would normally do a live, then of course I can't. The other thing is I've been doing lives on Sundays at 5:30 because of some polls I did a year or two ago. where those were the times that people preferred the most. So that's why I do them. If you've got a time that works better for you, drop a comment in one of my live videos or one of my polls. Let me know. I'm absolutely willing to look at some other times. I think there's some great opportunity during the week because I am retired. So, and I need to do another member live, John. I got to think about when I can. My biggest issue right now is I'm going to have to try to put 4 videos out next week. So if you watch my videos, there should be a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. So that's my goal, but that means a lot of filming and a lot of editing, and it can take I can usually edit 2 minutes of video in about probably an hour. So if I put out a 24-minute video, you're looking at up to 12 hours of editing to get that done. And it might only take me an hour to film it, but then I'm going to be editing for 12 hours, the life of a YouTuber. So if you don't know, folks, I probably work sometimes 50 to 60 hours or more a week putting these videos out. So it takes a lot of work, but I do plan on trying to get 4 out. There will be my sawmill video coming out on Tuesday. That one should be a lot of fun. There'll be a bit of recap on that, answers a question we answered tonight. And hey, maybe John will put one out too. But then I've got some power station antics coming out, some tips and tricks kind of things. And I've just got all kinds of stuff coming out, folks. My plate is about 3 times full with all of the power stuff I'm doing. And if you've got power questions that I didn't answer tonight or you were thinking about, don't be shy. Drop it down in one of my videos. Ask the questions. I always try to answer them. And if you're looking for a video topic, well, that sometimes is where I get those video topics from. So you ask questions. That's when we do that. So you ask them, I'll try to do videos on them. And yes, hopefully everything worked out for Jan. That's unfortunate. I'm not sure what happened. All right, guys. I think I'm talked out for the night. Thanks everybody for being here. John, thanks for being here. I'm sure you got some videos coming out.
Yep. Yes, I'm I got them coming out all the way till the 9th. I'm ready. They're scheduled till the 9th.
Oh, so you're ahead of the game. You're not like me filming on a Monday to get out by Tuesday.
So my membership's a little different than yours because I was looking at your membership, and yours is they get to see the videos early, and you put out that you schedule them to go live, later, right? Or to go on YouTube later.
Mm-hmm.
And mine is members only exclusive videos. So it's different.
Well, I have some of those. I do have videos
right.
that are
but I'm talking the
older
perks, the membership perks. Your perks don't actually say exclusive members only videos.
Right.
So when you schedule them, that's cool. But I've always just uploaded mine and then scheduled it. And if I get like 2 weeks ahead in my scheduling, great.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, wait a minute, I can just hit the members first. And if they see it 2 weeks early, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I've been doing that too.
How many videos a week? How many videos a week do you put out?
I have failed miserably in the last month, 2 months probably. I've failed miserably in any kind of schedule.
Oh, okay.
It's fall is harvest season. Everybody wants lumber. You got to get the soybeans out. You got to get it's hunting season. It's everything the fall is.
Right.
And I'm putting out videos. So now it's raining for the next 3 days too. So hopefully I can get out some more videos. But I try to get every 3 days, every 4 days, putting out a video.
Yeah, I'll tell you the funny thing for me is when I was milling all the time, it was actually easier to get videos out because I had so much content, right? I mean, if I went and milled on a weekend, I milled, 12 to 14 hours. That's 12 to 14 videos potentially, right? And so I would get behind in terms of my videos would come out sometimes 2 or 3 months after the fact, but I had so much content, it was easy to keep them coming out, right?
Right.
And when I committed to 3 a week, which was back in April of 22, I had the content. Today, because I'm not milling as much and I'm not working on the cabin as much, it's actually more work. And so I'm actually more behind them. They're coming out faster. So like if I film a video Monday, it's usually coming out Tuesday. And then usually I'll film on Tuesday, it'll come out Thursday. And then maybe Thursday I'll film, it'll come out Saturday.
You need to get ahead.
Yeah, and that is true. So I do hope to, but I'll be honest, I don't know how long I can keep up. And for those that are still remaining, thanks for sticking around because you're getting some inside scoop here. But I don't know how long I'll be able to keep up the 3 videos a week. And one of the reasons for that is trying to make higher quality videos. So the challenge with 3 videos a week is you cut your editing time down. So I said earlier about an hour for 2 minutes of video. Sometimes that turns into, about 8 hours for 24 minutes of video. And it depends on how well I do my recording. And I'll be honest with you, I record my videos exactly like what you're seeing right now. There's very little difference to when I'm recording a video and when I'm doing a live. The only difference is with a live, I can't edit out long pauses or, breaks in thought, or, I mess up a word or something and I decide I'm going to edit it out. Right. But other than that, I try to do my lives straight off the cuff. I'm not scripted. I do use an outline most of the time, but it's actually more of a reminder. I just try to have something because I have a tendency to get off track. So I try to have, I try to have something to keep me from getting off track. But otherwise, that's it. I'm going to go sit down. I've got a video in mind, something I want to answer typically. So if a viewer asks a question that I see it asked enough times, then a lot of times I'll think, okay, I should make a video to answer that question. Maybe it'll help. Or if I have some new fun thing I want to try, because I'm one of those guys that like I'm going to run a freeze dryer, I think, off a power station and see how long it'll work and what happens. Because they can be pretty hogs. They're pretty big hogs. And so I'm kind of thinking that could be a fun one to really, put like 8 or 10 kilowatts of power behind a good power station and try to run a freeze dryer, because they've got a big vacuum pump, right? Those things got to suck some power and they got to drop down to like minus 40 Fahrenheit inside the freeze dryers. So that'd be kind of a fun thing to do. And that's kind of the stuff that I'll do. I'll be like, I wonder if I can do this. So one video I'm working on this week is, I thought, and I mentioned this at the beginning tonight, I thought if I can just plug a battery in, and of course you can, right, into a solar port on a power station, well, why can't I do that on my camper? So that's what I'm going to do. But then I found out my camper, the solar ports are not, there's no MPPT controller. It's just ports that are wired directly to the battery bank. So I've got to put something in line between the battery and the battery bank of the Arctic Fox camper. So that's where the DC to DC charger is going to come in. I'm going to plug in a LifePo 4 battery into a DC charger that's designed to hook up to your car battery with the alternator running, and then plug that into those solar ports to charge up that battery bank. And that should work. You can also run solar off of that. And I may also try to do that. We'll see. And that's what it is. It's just all, and actually, Tom, it's you and Tammy is why I started thinking about doing that. Because I have a Harvest Right medium freeze dryer. And you asked about that in one of my last lives. So that's where that came from. And that's where I get a lot of my ideas. You guys ask questions and I'm like, yeah, why not?
So you have a bunch of these batteries right at your house, not at the cabin, right at your house.
Yeah,
that you can run the videos off of and do tests.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I've got 2 new batteries I'm going to be showing off Wednesday. One is a
right. I was just under the impression they were all at the cabin and you had to go do all your filming there. You know what I mean?
No. So if you see me filming with the paneling behind me,
right? I know that's at your house.
Yeah.
But I thought all the batteries were still at the cabin and you had to like film them.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I have at the cabin. I've got 9,200 watt hours.
I mean,
So that's
I've,
three big batteries. And those are in that back room that I just put the
right,
storm door entrance on.
right.
But
But
here
there was a
I
video where they were all out there on the front porch. You know,
I probably have done
you
some
know,
videos up there
right.
with them, yeah. But down here I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Okay.
7. I think I've got 7 LifePo 4 batteries here, either in the shop or in my garage. And I've actually got 6 or 7 power stations here. And I am going to be doing a video pretty soon with all the power stations. I'm going to be putting them all on the bench and showing you one that is super different, super unique, very powerful, very different. It's not inexpensive, I will tell you that. So if you're looking at those $500 power stations, this one ain't one of those. This one's about $2,500 on sale. It's a monster, but it was just so different. Built by aerospace engineers. So you can imagine it's not like the typical power stations you see. It don't look like
Right.
them, and it's built different. But um, and that's one I'm testing literally right now. And I don't know if I can. Here, let's see if this works. I don't know if this will work. I'll see if I can show it to you. Like this will be an exclusive behind the scenes on a live with the old Jarhead. So if you want to see something crazy looking, let's see if I got a picture of it. I may. Oh yeah, I do. So this is actually. Let's see if this works. See if you guys can see this. You see that?
Yeah.
It's silver. Looks
Yeah.
like a suitcase.
Yep.
That's actually a 4,000 watt hour power station that's about half the size of the equivalent, Blue Eddy or whoever. It's a monster. It's made with EV battery cells, um, top grade cells. They took the AC chargers out of it. So because it's small, it's really small. So they remove the chargers and they give you 2 500-watt chargers that you plug into it instead. And so they've compacted this thing. But one of the unique features is you can completely pull the thing apart. Now, of course, it's got the you sticker on the side, void the warranty or something like that. But they designed it so that if you get a bad cell or you wear it out and all the cells are bad, you can actually just change the cells out, put new cells in it. That's a super unique feature. Like that's unheard of. I've not heard of a power station company making a power station that you could pull the power cells out of, the 3.2 volt LifePo 4 cells, and then put new ones in. That's crazy. And it's aluminum. So it's made for you to take it apart and put it back together. And it also has a lot of inputs that are in and out. So the DC stuff's literally labeled, so many volts, so many amps, input, output, DC power or whatever. It's got an Anderson plug connection. It's got XT90s. It's got I don't know. It's got a bunch of stuff. Plus, on the readout, most of those power stations they read wattage, and they probably I don't even think they read voltage. They give you a percentage, 100%, so many watts or whatever. This one tells you the percentage of charge, the amount of amp hours it has, the amp draw, the voltage, and the cell voltage of each of your cells. And they have COM ports and test ports, and you can actually hook up a cell balancer to balance the cells in the unit if one should get out of balance. This thing it's wild. It is a step up in the world of power stations. And this company actually, it is a Chinese company, though they have an American component. So the American component is who I've been dealing with. But their main builder is one of the biggest builders of EV batteries for the Chinese market. And and I think for power stations too. So these guys are aerospace engineers that are now working with them building this new unit. So you can see the aerospace influence when you see it, like you saw that picture of that silver suitcase looking thing, right? That ain't like any power station I've ever seen. Yeah, it looks like an ammo can. Yeah, right. 4,000 watt hours too, but it weighs 65 pounds. And that's another video that I'm going to be doing soon. How big of a power station should you buy? Because I think that, like for me, I can no longer lift 65 pounds. Maybe I will be able to sometime in the future, but right now I'm really limited to about, between 25 and 50 pounds, and 50's getting in the upper end of where I push in my luck, because I have a couple discs that are off center from one another. And if you lift up something that's too heavy and you twist wrong, then you're going to be in a walker real fast, or a wheelchair. So I have to be really careful. So this thing at 65 pounds, I have moved it a couple times, and it's heavy. That's really heavy. So I've been thinking about that. What's that?
It's your car, a dolly, washing machine dolly.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the one thing about this unit. It is different, is that it's actually built in mind. Size and space was a big factor, because they know a lot of the off-roading community in the overland side of things, the camping side, right? They are building in and getting bigger and bigger power systems in their rigs, and having a power system like in say an off-road van that has air conditioning, having a power system that could run that air conditioner, run your refrigerator and all your electronics while you're out wheeling. That's kind of a big deal, but it can't be big. It's a little bit heavy, sure, but it can't be big. It's got to be something that's small enough that you can tuck behind a wheel well or something and bolt it down. What's that?
If you just put it on a washing machine dolly, you'd be fine wheeling it around.
Yeah. So what I did, I'll show you what I did. You ready for this? Let's see if we can make one more picture work here for you.
So you're gonna give away all the secrets of this video, or you're just gonna?
Yeah, why not? I mean, there's only like a dozen people watching now, anyways. I mean, you guys that are watching, I have no problem giving away insider secrets, to be honest with you, because I'm an open book. I tell everybody, you can ask me any question you want. You see that?
No, well, I can't tell what you did to it.
You see a red thing?
Yeah.
So what that is that's a tool, like a toolbox cart thing.
Oh, okay.
So put the power station on top, and then load up some batteries underneath it. So I'm gonna put about 8 kilowatts of batteries underneath it.
Wow. Okay.
And then run those into that power station and run that freeze dryer for Tom and Tammy's off grid. And that, that'll give it about 10 kilowatts. That's a lot of power. I mean, it's not enough to run my house, but all right, folks, you just got a whole bunch of insider scoop. Thank you, John, for coming out, and Michael and Andy, who was here for a while, Tom and Tammy, Arrowhead. Holy cow, there's so many. Lisa, was it no, Jen Hardy show. I've never heard of you, but I'm glad you joined us. Maybe I'll get a chance to check you out one of these days. Hopefully whatever caused you to have to run to the hospital has worked out, and it'll be okay. Let's see, who else did we have on? We lost a lot of
Wilson.
I mentioned Michael. We had a lot of solar power guys. I think they all left when I started talking sawmilling, but gosh, we had several here. Cody Raymer, he left. Sawbucks was here. Jalapa. Let's see, we had some others here. James Tarpley. So anyway, a whole bunch of folks, guys. Hey, thanks everybody for being here. And again, thank you, John, for coming out. Probably see you on the next forestry roundtable. So I'm going to call it good and go down and relax for an hour or so before it's my bedtime, because I get up around 4:30 in the morning.
Third Saturday. So you just got like a week, the 16th, I think, this month.
Is it Saturday? Okay.
Yep.
I won't be here, so I won't make that one.
Come on.
That's filming weekend. Sorry. I don't have Starlink yet. My channel's not big enough to afford to pay for Starlink yet.
Oh yeah,
we're getting there though. We're getting there. We're pretty soon. So thank you everybody for watching, because that's what's going to get me Starlink, and I'm going to get Starlink and bring you lives from the cabin one of these days. So, all right, folks. Thanks, John. I'm going to call it night.
Thank you. Later.